2 weeks, 2 analysis of these Puss in Boots villains. On my review of the wolf, a few people let me know that Jack is the real villain of the story, so let's see how good of a villain he is. Welcome back to Villain Review. Jack Horner, scale of 1 to 10, let's do it. And normally, I only stick to one villain review every Monday, but I've come this close, so I'll do a villain review Wednesday too. You probably know who it is. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe though, you're gonna wanna see it. Wednesday, another villain review.
This boy, Little Jack's dead. I'm Big Jack Horner.
Jack Horner likes pie, and he used to stick his thumb in them for some strange, unknown reason. He had everything a boy could want: supportive parents, a mansion, a lucrative pie business, but when he'd slowly become upstaged by magical creatures like Pinocchio, he'd become extremely jealous and make it his goal to obtain as much magic as he could to become the most powerful magic user the world's ever seen. He'd get some pretty cool things over the years too, I'll admit it, such as baby unicorn horns, the little growing cakes from Alice in Wonderland, fairy godmother's wand, but the one thing he really wants is the last wish, something that will let him wish for all of the world's magic, making him next level powerful. This movie is stuffed with villains: the wolf, Jack Horner, Goldilocks, the bears, so the fact that we get anything for Jack Horner, I'd say is pretty good. At the end of the day, it comes down to just being a power motive, which is something we've seen 1,000 times, but I think it's actually done pretty well, especially for him being one of several villains. He has a reason for wanting power, to get back the attention he lost from all the magical beings, and I'm just glad that we got that. It's simple, but it does a lot to make his motive less generic. Good stuff.
You're an irredeemable monster! Oh, what took you so long, idiot?
Death is a cool, scary villain, Goldilocks is a sympathetic one, and Jack Horner is just the douchebag, what the hell's going on kind of villain. Honestly, it's really refreshing to have a villain who is just straight up awful in all areas. They don't try to make him sympathetic. He's just a power-hungry lunatic, and I love how self-aware the movie is of that. You could say he's kind of one note, but for the most part, I think it's done pretty well, and I think that's what Puss in Boots does well with its villains. Whatever one might be lacking in, the others pick it up in that category. Goldilocks is not evil. She wants the wish for her own semi-understandable reason. The wolf, as everybody reminded me last week, isn't evil. He's just doing his job, although I'd still say I don't necessarily agree with that. They're not unlikable in that sense, but Jack Horner is very unlikable. That being said, when you have a character who is a psychopath and everyone knows it, it leads to some pretty funny moments. I would call Jack Horner the funniest villain by far, and one of the funnier characters just in the movie in general. I had no idea that John Mulaney was in this movie, but it was a pleasant surprise, and I think he does a pretty good job. Also, the design of the character does add some intimidation just because of how massive he is compared to the other characters, and it's a cool twist on the nursery rhyme the character was based on. On top of that, add in a bunch of wacky magical weapons, and it makes his encounters a lot more creative and interesting.
So cute! How you think that would work on me? Don't you know I'm dead inside?
A lot of Jack's scenes have a similar feel because it's just him being awful to whoever else happens to be in the scene with him. The good side of that is that all of his scenes either add to his comedy or cruelty. The scenes with him and the cricket are pretty good just because of how shocked the cricket is at all of Jack's cruelty. He's hoping that Jack can get better, but we all know he won't. I like the scene where he's just wasting all of his own soldiers, just shooting them in the butt and all that stuff with the unicorn horns. All of his dudes are just blowing up in explosions of confetti and just glitter and all that stuff, and Jack does not really care at all. In fact, it's pretty funny how Jack leaves with this big squad of the Baker's Dozen, and by the end of the movie, they're all pretty much dead because of him. The final fight is cool too, and I like seeing all the different tools and weapons, but I have a minor complaint. It's just my opinion, but I think when he comes back after Puss's fight with Death, I'm just kind of over it. Team Friendship teams up with the Bears because movie, I don't know, but like the fight with Death is awesome. The fight's cool. It's the culmination of Puss's arc in the movie. After that, the Jack Horner one feels a little bit of a downgrade, and I think it would have been better if the two scenes were flipped. You can destroy the wish before Death too, because then it really gives Puss no escape from Death, instead of it just being a pride thing. Not a diss to the whole movie, but a slight criticism of Jack's scenes. Like if you did, hooray, we killed Jack, and then you hear the whistle and the wolf comes back, I think I like that better.
You're not
gonna shoot a puppy, are you, Jack?
Yeah, in the face. Why?
Like I said earlier, dude is evil and he knows it. He's awful, and I think it's great. From the beginning, he tells these two that if they bring him the map, he'll pay them their weight in gold. So he turns one of them into gold, literally their weight in gold, if not a little more. That's kind of the fun thing about Jack, is that he's evil, but he has a sense of humor to him. And you can tell he's having a lot of fun being a jerk, probably the most fun. He's always laughing at his own cruelty, and the origin helps a lot too. The origin compliments him being evil because it gives him a reason to want power, but it also shows his entitlement and how spoiled he is. The mansion, parents, business, he thinks all that stuff is stupid and only really cares about the magic and obtaining his wish. Also, he kills pretty much all of his men and is trying to kill really anybody who will get in his way. Pretty evil guy.
These babies are gonna get me that wish even after the whole team is dead and gone.
Now, Jack.
I like Jack Horner as a villain, and I think he serves a pretty good purpose in the movie. He's the unlikable, evil, comedic-based villain, and he really helps fill that role in the movie, especially next to Death and Goldilocks. I'm glad he has some origin, and John Mulaney does a good job, and he's also pretty funny. He is a little one note though, and while his motivation helps, his motive isn't as good as Death and Goldilocks in my opinion. I'm gonna give Jack Horner a 7.5.
The Eternal.
Pretty boss flamethrower, right?
Thank you so much for watching Villain Review. Make sure you subscribe because I got another Villain Review coming out Wednesday. Like the video if you liked it. Good stuff.